So yeah, I've seen some of the stuff you've done for RugbyPass and that some great work there. How did that connection and your involvement with them kind of come about?
I mean, there's a really sort of simple story and there's a really long one. But I'll go into the long one because I can
Yeah,
sort of
got
talk
time.
about it a bit more. Yeah. I mean, it started, I think, just before I was going to college. So 4 years ago, I think, I basically started a like a Premiership rugby Instagram page. And at the time, I had no idea really about what I was doing with graphics. So I basically started on an app called Procreate on my iPad, and they were interesting graphics. They weren't sort of anywhere near the stuff I'm doing now. But yeah, I started with that. I ran this page for about 2 years, I think. Sort of doing a bit of graphics work. I started my own podcast with a few mates of mine, and yeah, I mean, eventually, I thought I was at a level where I wanted to do graphics sort of more and properly. So I invested in a Mac, started actually using Photoshop and stuff like that, and then one day I literally just sent a message to RugbyPass. They were advertising for a job in New Zealand for a social content creator out there. And I basically said, look, I'm not in New Zealand, but this is what I've done. This is, sort of what I want to do. I think I can help you. I think I can do the stuff that you need. And from that, I got a message back, surprisingly. And yeah, from there, I got a 2 week sort of trial period. So I worked for 2 weeks, basically just learning the ropes. And from there, I mean, I've been with them for, I think, 2.5 years now. So yeah, it was pretty mental that it was just a single message, and it's led to so much.
Yeah, that's mad. That like one DM just turns out to be a 2.5 year relationship with such a growing page and media space in rugby, and that obviously it's as they're growing, things are becoming faster paced for them to get out news and that. What are the turnaround times like for you if they say we need X graphic now? How does it work?
I mean, so the way it works is there's basically a group of us in the social media team, and we'll sort of have days in the week that we are working on RugbyPass. And when we're working, it's basically just about going out and finding the content and basically doing it all ourselves. So it's not necessarily someone comes to me and goes, "Oh, here's something we want you to make." A lot of the job is actually just finding the stuff that we post about. So whether that's going to sort of our editorial team and looking at their articles and going, "Oh, that's a big piece of information." So some of it we do get fed. So we've just launched the RugbyPass app. So if there are things on there that we need to promote and we need, say we've got a new documentary coming out, we'll need stuff to sort of post about that. So sometimes we do sort of get fed the content, but a lot of the time it's going out and finding it and sort of working out what our followers want to see and what they're going to engage with, and stuff like that.
And then what's it like knowing RugbyPass, just their Instagram page has got I think just over 2 million followers. What does it feel like when you put something out there, knowing that this is going to be seen by such a wide variety of people.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think when I first started, I got quite sort of scared about it. And if I got a couple of hate comments, I got a couple of people sort of like talking badly about either what I was posting, like the quality of the post, or what was in the post. Like, even if it was completely unrelated to me, I sort of let it get to me, and I was like, yeah, it did sort of hit quite hard. But now it's just we tend to just laugh about it as a team, and when people sort of get riled up, I mean, even if you're not trying to sort of get a bit of engagement and get a bit of people like arguing and stuff, you'll get people that find issues with everything. So it's just it's not worth sort of getting scared about it, or like trying to change what you're doing in order to sort of please everyone.
Especially in the sports world,
Yeah.
There's always hot button topics and that, and but yeah, I guess you've got. I assume you enjoy rugby, which may help with kind of. Well, I'm sure it does help with your content creation, because it's probably a bit easier for you because it's something you enjoy, so you're staying up to date with it anyway. So you kind of know what's happening in the world of rugby.
Yeah, I mean, I significantly I enjoy my job significantly more than my degree. So I'm doing a degree in graphic design at the moment, and it's just because in my degree I'm doing things that I just have no interest in. It's so much harder to find the motivation. Whereas in sports and in rugby specifically, it's what I've like spent my life doing. So it just comes so much easier.
So yeah, touching on that, so you're studying a degree in graphic design.
Yeah.
Okay. And how far are you through that so far?
I'm a year and a half through.
Okay.
We have an option for like a year in industry, but I'm choosing not to because I want to graduate, and then I'll have a year after graduating before the 2027 Australia World Cup, and that's sort of the big thing that I'm looking forward to, and I want to go and I want to work at.
That sounds like an amazing goal to set there. So what's like the ultimate dream for you for your career? Is it to be like a full-time freelance graphic designer working for like a number of things? Is it an agency? Like, what does it look like for you?
It's a tough one. I think at the moment the one thing that I've thought about and the one thing that I want to aim for is the World Cup. I don't want to just sort of limit myself to RugbyPass and limit myself to, I mean, not even limit myself to graphic design. I mean, I've started filming and doing a bit of photography and stuff like that as well. So yes, just sort of content creation. And then from there, I want to try out other sports as well as rugby. I mean, rugby's sort of, it's what I know best. But I want to challenge myself with other stuff. Maybe go into football, maybe look at, I mean, American football is another thing that I enjoy a lot. So maybe have a look at going over to America and doing some of that stuff. But yeah, I haven't put too much thought into the sort of big goal. For now, it's just, seeing where things go.
Yeah, you're still very early into your career anyway, so you've got plenty of time. Yeah. And then when it comes to like the graphic design stuff, or going back to that, where do you like kind of find inspiration or work that you like and kind of motivates you?
I mean, it's a really it's a tough one because the stuff that I do for RugbyPass quite often isn't necessarily what I enjoy making. Like, I enjoy making art and making like good quality sort of detailed art pieces related to sport. And I think with RugbyPass, quite often it's about getting out quickly. So you can't sort of dwell on sort of making everything perfect. So for RugbyPass, I mean, it's generally it's not really sort of art pieces, but when I'm making sort of my personal stuff, or if, for example, I've got a month to create a graphic, or a bit longer than just got to get it out straight away, I tend to just scrolling on Instagram quite a lot. I just save all sorts of stuff from football to basketball to NFL. I literally just save everything that I find graphically that I enjoy, and the same with photography and videography and all that sort of stuff. If I find something when I'm scrolling, I'll save it. But I don't tend to go like looking for it. I think just the way that like my algorithms set up, it all just comes to me. So yeah.
You've taught the algorithm well. Then if it's just coming straight to the top of your feed every time, that's good. And then just taking a couple steps back, where do you think like your enjoyment and passion for graphic side of things, the photography, came from? Like, did you know like in high school like this is where I want to go, or did you kind of just stumble into it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was at school, I did art GCSE, and it was the only real sort of subject I enjoyed. I was good at other subjects, and yeah, I got decent grades, but I basically found myself at the end of secondary school, basically trying to work out what I wanted to do for a career, and as a result, what subjects I was going to take for my A levels. And yeah, I could literally the one thing I wanted to do was art, and then as a result, I ended up doing graphic design for my A levels as the one thing that I did, because I mean, everyone always sort of told me that art isn't really a career. You sort of have to do something else, sort of related to art and graphic design. I mean, I've always enjoyed computers and stuff like that, so it sort of made sense. And then did it for my A levels, and then now I'm doing it at uni.
And has the photography and videography and that followed after this graphic design, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, it's come quite recently, I think. So I used to play contact rugby. I've recently had an operation on my nose, which means I can't play contact rugby anymore. So I now just play touch rugby. But because of this operation, I basically found myself like with a lot of time, and I've sort of taken over as like media sec for my touch rugby team. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a bit of like videography, and then from there, I've basically just like found myself in like a rabbit hole on Instagram Reels and stuff. Basically, just loads of videographers and stuff, and I've started enjoying that a bit more, and spent probably too much money on a load of kit, so that I can start doing that. So now I'm sort of balancing out a bit more, and I always say to it, like when people ask me, I'm a bit of like a Swiss Army knife. I just want to know how to do everything. I mean, in the content creation industry, you sort of have to be able to do multiple things other than just graphics, especially in something like sports. And a company like RugbyPass, we all just sort of do a bit of everything.
Yeah, knowing different skill sets, and it will definitely help whenever you looking at other organizations for work down the line. If they find someone that can do graphic design as well as their photography as well as their videography, I'm sure that they'll be very happy. So yeah, and I guess it's quite nice to be able to experiment with that videography and photography side of things, like with your team, because it's kind of like a little test subject that you can use, and then develop your skill sets. That when you have to do it for, say, RugbyPass in the future, you kind of got it dialed in.
And I think quite often when I do a bit of video editing for RugbyPass as well. But yeah, quite often when I'm creating, whether it's a graphic or a video, you'll be there and the photo won't quite fit, or you'll have to do a bit of manipulation, or the video just like cuts at the wrong time and stuff like that. Whereas if I'm creating it from the start and I'm there with the camera, I'm taking the photo, I'm editing the photo, I'm putting it into a graphic, it's all in my control. And I feel, I'm a bit of a control freak, so sort of being able to do it from start to end, it makes it. I mean, it's a lot more work, but it feels like it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's quite satisfying as well, as well as the sense that if you've got an idea for a graphic in mind, and you're out there on the field taking photos, you can already figure where you want your subject to be positioned in the photo that's going to work well for this graphic that I've got an idea of. So you kind of you're covering the whole cycle. And I guess that's, instead of being sitting at the desk trying to create the graphic and you've only got stock images that someone else has taken that just don't work, you've got to kind of manipulate them. And is there any trick or tip that you've picked up through graphic design that's something that you always do in a graphic now, whether it be, I don't know, certain guides you use, or is it a color correction that always
I don't have it I don't have any specific ones, but I mean, I think one of the things I use quite often is my eyesight. I think because my eyesight is the way that it is, and I struggle quite often with contrast, and if something's fairly low contrast, I just can't read it at all. So I think as a result, every single one of my designs is perhaps more higher contrast, easier to read, which not only helps people with visual impairments, but also people with neurological sort of issues as well. So it's not necessarily a tip or a trick, but I guess an upside of sort of struggling with my eyesight myself. It allows me to sort of add something different that someone with perfect sight perhaps wouldn't necessarily think about.
And I guess the high contrast side of things also probably makes things stick out when you're scrolling through, because it obviously has a bit of a pop to it more than, say, someone that might not have as much contrast.
I'd say it doesn't necessarily stand out to me, but I guess that's just because to me it's legible. I can read it. It's definitely perhaps something that sets me out. But I guess I've never really thought about it like that.
And when you started out, going back a couple of years, especially aimed at when you were doing the rugby stuff and that, where were you kind of picking up or learning about Photoshop and that? Was it YouTube tutorials and following people that are already in the industry?
A lot of it for me was just sort of teaching myself.
Okay.
Obviously, so I did graphic design at college. So I did have I had my teachers there to sort of show me the basics of Photoshop, and Illustrator and After Effects and stuff like that. But a lot of the time it was sort of me just sitting at my computer and messing around with something until it worked. And every now and then I'd go and search on YouTube if I couldn't work it out. But yeah, I've always sort of I've quite enjoyed sort of problem solving things. So yeah, I'd say even though art was sort of my one subject, sort of problem solving and maths as well was something that I quite enjoyed. So yeah, I think I've always just been, if you've got a problem, if you need something doing, you sort of do it yourself. And yeah, keep working at it until eventually you've got the right thing. And yeah, every now and then search up on YouTube or wherever to sort of get the right answer.
Yeah, I know I started out in Canva, so that was my first taste of using software for sports graphic design kind of stuff. But then I quickly found that it didn't have the full tool set that I needed, so I got Photoshop. But when I first opened Photoshop, I had no idea what any of the tools did. So it was kind of similar to that, is just click a tool and see what it does, and like, how does this even work? But then a lot of YouTube, was a lot of tutorials in that. But yeah, it's quite nice having that kind of. There's so much free information out there, whether it be on Instagram, YouTube. If you have a problem, it's probably someone else has had that problem and they've already probably put a video out on it.
I mean, sort of with the camera, I think because I've only just started learning, it's a lot. I guess I'm all the way back to basics with that, and that again has just been a lot of going to rugby games and stuff and just filming, and like if it's overexposed or underexposed or it's grainy, I guess just changing things and sort of working out where how that changes the image, and then also looking it up on YouTube and basically just starting from zero. But I do I enjoy just having something just to stimulate the mind and sort of get you thinking and trying to work out how it all works.
Yeah, I think that playing part is also it's part of the creative process. Is playing and tinkering with things and playing with filters and all that kind of stuff, and like some of it like is really rubbish, and then you land on something that's really great. And but you've got to go through those hurdles, those different iterations to get to the final output. But in wrapping up, thanks for jumping on. If people want to find out more or follow along with your work, where would be the best place to follow you?
So I post all of my I don't post all of my designs. I do significantly more than goes on to my Instagram, but I post some of my best stuff on Grantham.design on Instagram. I might have changed my username actually. Now I've started doing the photography stuff as well. But yeah, I post most of my stuff on Instagram, and then also RugbyPass pages. Every other post will be mine. I mean, I'm sort of working a little bit less at the moment because my uni work sort of taken a step up. But yeah, you'll find some of my stuff on there.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.